Good morning, my friends. Today, it's a nice, cloudy, snowy day. The past weekend, it got really warm, which was a nice sort of break from the frigid cold that we've been experiencing. But it's, all the snow sort of washed away, so we kind of got that little bit of, brown, murky, gray sort of landscape that's common, especially during like March. So now it's starting to snow a little bit, so maybe we'll get a nice fresh blanket of snow just in time for Christmas there. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit more about music and fan bases, because people didn't seem to be satisfied with the with my last video on the subject dealing with how to get SoundCloud plays and followers. I mentioned quite a bit about getting a loyal fan base, and people wanted to know more about what it is consistent and how to make and create a loyal fan base based on your music. Well, for one thing, I think it's it takes a lot of depth and a level of honesty in terms of your own art and your own music, and that's when you have to really look at yourself and think, am I actually supposed to be a musician? Am I genuinely an artist? And I think there's unfortunately a lot of people who are confused by that notion, where they believe that they are artists, but they don't have anything to create. They don't have anything to say. They want to have the image of being an artist. They want to have all the perks of what Western society has given famous artists, and I think that's a negative way to go about it. Or they want to look at other people's art, and they're so inspired by another person's art that they think, oh, I want to make something like that. I want to make this thing or replicate it, which again I don't think is a genuine way to think as an artist. Definitely you can be inspired by other art, and there's no question about that. I'm talking specifically about the concept of people wanting to replicate other art just for the purpose of like idolization and wanting to be that other artist, which I think is a negative route to go down. If you're an artist, you want to express your own sort of individual take on yourself, right? We all have a deepest sense of self, whether you want to call it your consciousness or you want to go deeper and call it God. There's this sense of self inside of us that we want to bring out into the physical world, and that can only be shaped by our perceptions and how we can sort of see the world and sort of shape it into sort of this mystical, strange sort of landscape that we are creating in our own minds. Now, having said that, I think that's the base foundation of what it means to be an artist. And if you're not following that, don't expect to get a genuine fan base. That's not to say that you can't be famous or you can't get fans. I'm talking more along the lines of long-term growth. The fans that you'll get by going the easy route or the cheap way, by replicating other art or following someone else, or just sort of living and creating your art based off of another person's or another style. You might get some fans, but they're not going to be loyal to you. They're not going to be consistent with listening to your music, and your career as an artist is going to be short-lived, if you even have a career at all. So that's the foundation, I think, for developing a fan base. So now that you've sort of, really looked at yourself in the mirror, really analyzed and broke yourself down and realized, is this what I really want to do? Is this really what I'm, meant to do? Because there's a lot of people out there that are meant to do other things. They have a certain sense of being able to express themselves in a way that might be important, and that might just be a plumber, or be a carpenter. And there's nothing wrong with any of those professions at all. We sort of live in a society where we sort of look down upon those professions. But in actuality, being a plumber, you can make a lot of money being a private plumber with your own sort of little business you got running, repairing toilets. You could find a lot of different jobs, a lot of different avenues that you might actually end up being happier working within rather than choosing to be an artist, because being an artist is very difficult. And I know that because I'm doing it. So that's the other aspect. And now, if you want to talk about developing a fan base, at first you're starting out, you realize, all right, I'm expressing myself in an individual way. You have to shape, in order to make a living, that this is what you want. You sort of have to accept the fact that we live in a capitalist society, and it's not capitalist by a systematic design created by mankind. It's basic human nature that has been present within us since the dawn of life on Earth, which is survival. You have to realize that you are surviving as an artist. If you are financially leveraged in a place, or you already have a job that you're comfortable with and you just want to make music on the side and that's all you care about, you just do it for fun, then that's great. There's a lot of musicians out there who just want to make music. They don't care about fame or making a living from it because they're already happy in whatever life they have right now, and they're just doing it for fun. They're just doing it to enjoy themselves, and that's perfectly fine. But we're getting into this weird point where it's like we have this array of artists who are very critical of the fact that we live in this society where we have to sell a product, and they are not comfortable with their current financial situation, and they feel like they deserve to get paid for their art. They deserve to make a living from their art, so to speak, or something along those lines. And they complain a lot about it, which is, and I've been in that boat where I've sort of felt like I deserve to get money from my art, even though it's not up to me. So even if you are a very talented artist and you realize that it's a very deep sense of self-expression, you have to understand that you need to appeal to people in a way so that they'll want to buy your music, so that way you can make a living. And that's the other aspect of creation. That's the other art that people don't want to understand. And I've brought this up before, is turning your art into a business. And a lot of people stray away from that. And that's fine. You don't have to do that. But don't expect to make a living off of it. Don't expect people to give you money for art when you don't even respect the game that you're trying to get inside. And it's not even you don't respect it, you actively avoid it and criticize it and hate it. You're going to run into problems. You're not going to make a living like that. And that's just the way it is. And it took me some time to sort of get over that. Or actually, it didn't really. I sort of just got into it, and then I started making money, and then I realized people who are against the concept of wanting money from their art are it's a weird phenomenon. Like they expect money, but then they criticize people who want to make money in a business, and you're doing the same thing, but you're just pretending that you're not. It's very strange to me. So anyway, you want to market yourself. That's the main aspect, and how you do that is there's no like golden path to follow. There's no book you can buy that'll tell you the perfect way to market yourself, especially as an artist. You have to be creative. You have to invent something new that's marketable. You can try paying for ads. You could try posting on social media, posting on all the Reddit groups. I know from my own experience that doesn't work. What does work is finding niche markets, okay? And just sort of like teasing them. Finding niche markets that are small enough to where people, if you just post it in their group, they'll realize, oh, hey, there's this new thing in our niche group. I did that with Vaporwave. Now Vaporwave is too big. It's not really relevant anymore. There's so many different subgenres and weird little genres that you can do. and you can just have fun and make these little niche market genres, make an album based off of that, post it in the group, and if you're talented enough, it's easy to stand out in those niche genres because there's so little competition, there's so little artists to stand out from. So you can basically like destroy in all those little niche markets. So I can just name them. There's like Dungeon Synth, Witch House, Sea Punk. You can make up anything really, and you'll probably find it. Just do your research, find out these genres that are sort of a little bit obscure, and and sort of market towards those. That's kind of what I'm doing now, and it's worked in some regards. You can try inventing your own genre, which I did. I didn't actually invent anything, which is the joke about it all, but I did innovate in terms of my marketing strategy, and I created a narrative based off of my music, and you create this sort of sphere of influence. That's what I did. That's a great way to market, is if you honestly like online Twitter beef, it's a great way to market yourself. You think that all this beef that you see between rappers and famous musicians, do you think that's like even legitimate? It's not. It's all constructed to get people wrapped up in the drama. You see it when these artists get into these big beef brawls between each other that really has nothing to do with anything. It's all man-made. It's all manufactured. People all of a sudden start listening to their music. They start checking out their diss tracks, all this other stupid shit. And that's how they market themselves. You have to make yourself personable. You have to make yourself sort of seem interesting. You want to make it seem like, oh yeah, I want to click on this, And if you have to resort to clickbait and all this other stuff, fuck it. If you're making genuine art, it doesn't matter if you're using sort of clickbait and stuff to get people in. You have to make a living. You have to find a way to do this. Don't be a person who thinks they're better than everyone and thinks like, oh, like I'm not gonna fall for like cheap marketing tactics, and I'm not about the capitalist system, and like people are just greedy, and like I just want to make the art, and it's like it's all about the music, man. Like just drop that bullshit attitude. If you're complaining about your living situation and your monetary situation, your financial situation, because complaining about it isn't going to help you at all. Criticizing what we live in right now is not going to help you. Utilize it to your benefit. Find a way to utilize it, and there's so many different options. So anyway, that's all I really have to say about that. I hope it's helped some people. If they still have some problems with what I'm saying and you want me to clarify certain things, or you have any other suggestions, please comment, because I'm running out of things to talk about, and it's always nice to have people tell me, oh, talk about this, because it's sort of like a relief off of my mind. I don't have to think of something. So anyway, that's all I have to say, and I hope you have a wonderful day.